Hello. You don't belong here, he whispered at my wife's company event. Just 3 words that shattered the 15 years of marriage I had and nearly ruined everything I had worked for. Wade Morrison thought he could walk all over me. Little did he know, he had just ignited a war. My name is Ricky Mills, I'm 43, and for the past 12 years, I've been building a consulting business from scratch, helping startups turn their ideas into profitable companies. It's been rewarding and has provided us with a comfortable lifestyle. Scarlett works in marketing at Henderson & Associates, a mid-sized firm handling corporate events and PR. We have a 7-year-old son, Asher, who's the center of our world. Or so I thought. The company party took place at the Riverside Hotel downtown. Scarlett had been talking about it for weeks, emphasizing how important it was for her career and how the senior partners would be there. She had bought a new dress, had her hair done, the whole works. I was proud of her ambition and proud to be her husband. But that pride lasted only 47 minutes. I was standing by the bar, sipping on a club soda, watching Scarlett work the room. She was excellent at this. Always had been. That's when this guy approached me. Tall, dressed in an expensive suit. That kind of confidence that comes from never hearing the word no. You must be Ricky, he said, extending his hand. Wade Morrison, I work with your wife. I shook his hand and noticed how firm his grip was. Nice to meet you, Wade, I replied. He glanced around the room, then looked back at me with a smirk. So, you're the husband everyone talks about. Something in his tone made my stomach tighten. Everyone talks about me? Wade leaned in, and I could smell his expensive cologne mixed with top-shelf whiskey. Let me give you some advice, buddy. This company party? Not really your scene. These people, this world, it's probably too much for you. I felt my jaw clench, but I kept my voice steady. Is that so? I asked. Wade gestured with his drink. Look around. See how well she fits in here. Some people are meant for bigger things. Some people outgrow their circumstances. The way he emphasized circumstances while looking at me made everything click. This wasn't just an arrogant coworker making small talk. This was a message. Wade, I said quietly, you have no idea who you're dealing with. He laughed. Actually laughed. Sure I do, Ricky. You're the safe bet. The reliable guy who pays the bills while she chases her dreams. But dreams change, don't they? Before I could respond, Scarlett appeared next to us, flushed from the wine and the attention. Wait, I see you've met my husband, she said. But her tone felt off. Too forced, too bright. We were just getting acquainted, Wade replied, never taking his eyes off me. Ricky here was telling me about his little consulting business. I hadn't mentioned my business. The realization hit me like a punch in the gut. They had been talking about me. About us. Well, Scarlett said, linking her arm through Wade's. The presentation is starting soon. Wade's been working on this campaign for months. She didn't link her arm with mine. She didn't even look at me. That's when I knew. Standing there in the hotel ballroom, watching my wife of 15 years hang on another man's arm while he smirked at me like I was a joke, I knew my marriage was over. The question was, what was I going to do about it? I didn't sleep that night. Not even close. I lay in our king-sized bed, staring at the ceiling while Scarlett showered, humming a tune I didn't recognize. When she finally came to bed, she fell asleep within minutes, turned away from me, just like she had been for months, and I hadn't noticed. At 3:15 a.m., I gave up on sleep and went downstairs to the kitchen. My business laptop sat on the counter where I had left it. That's when I remembered something that had been bothering me. Scarlett had a second phone. She called it her work device for client communications, but guarded it like it was a state secret. I found it in her purse by the front door, still warm from recent use. The lock screen showed 2 missed messages, both from someone saved as WM. Wade Morrison. My heart pounded in my chest as I tried to guess her passcode. Anniversary was wrong. Asher's birthday was wrong. Then I remembered her college sorority PIN number from Northwestern. 4 digits. I typed them in. The phone unlocked. The messages were right there. Sent just an hour ago while I lay awake upstairs. WM. Tonight was perfect. Seeing his face when I told him about your trajectory was priceless. Scarlett. You were cruel. I almost felt bad for him. Almost. WM. Don't go soft on me now. We talked about this. He's holding you back from everything you deserve. Scarlett. I know. It's just harder than I thought it would be. WM. The Hawaii conference is in 3 weeks. Perfect timing to make things official. My hands shook as I scrolled further back. Weeks of messages. Maybe months. Photos of hotel rooms. Inside jokes about my boring business stories. Plans that didn't involve me. But the worst part was a voice message from 2 days ago. I hesitated, then pressed play, keeping the volume low. It was Scarlett's voice, but not the Scarlett I knew. This version of her was laughing, confident, alive in a way she hadn't been with me in years. "You should have seen him trying to help Asher with his math homework last night," she said, getting frustrated over second-grade problems. Sometimes, I wonder what I was thinking, settling for someone so limited. I stopped the recording. My chest tightened, like someone was squeezing my lungs. Settling. That's how she saw our 15-year marriage. Settling. I took screenshots of everything and carefully placed the phone back exactly where I found it. My mind raced, but one thought kept resurfacing. I had built my business by staying 3 steps ahead of the competition. I analyzed markets, predicted trends, helped startups navigate challenges they didn't even know were coming. Yet somehow, I had missed the biggest threat to my own life, right under my nose. Wade Morrison thought I was some clueless husband who wouldn't fight back. Scarlett thought she could plan her exit strategy while I paid the bills and took care of our son. They were both about to learn that underestimating me was a mistake they'd regret. I had 3 weeks until Hawaii. 3 weeks to figure out how deep this betrayal ran and what I was going to do about it. The quiet guy was done being quiet. The next morning, I did something I'd never done in 15 years of marriage. I called in sick to work and followed my wife. Scarlett left the house at her usual time, kissing me goodbye like she had 1,000 times before. But now that kiss felt like poison on my lips. I waited 10 minutes, then drove to the parking garage across from her building. I didn't have to wait long. At 11:30, Wade Morrison's black BMW pulled up to the front entrance. My wife walked out moments later, not from the employee exit, but from the main lobby, like she had been waiting. She got in his car. They drove to Riverside Park, the same place where Scarlett and I had our first date 16 years ago. I watched from a distance as they sat on a bench, her head resting on his shoulder, his hand stroking her hair. It was intimate in a way that told me this wasn't something new. I took photos with my phone, my hands steadier than I expected. Then I drove to my friend Jake's security company downtown. Jake Sullivan ran a private investigation firm, mostly corporate stuff, but he owed me a favor from when I helped his startup client avoid bankruptcy. "I need surveillance equipment," I told him, "and I need to know everything about Wade Morrison." Jake didn't ask questions. Within an hour, I had a GPS tracker smaller than a quarter and a background report that made my blood run cold. Wade Morrison wasn't just some ambitious marketing executive. He was a predator with a pattern. 2 previous companies, 2 married women, both relationships ending in messy divorces that left the husbands financially ruined. "This guy's dangerous, Ricky," Jake said, sliding the report across his desk. "He targets successful women in unstable marriages, isolates them from their support systems, then moves in for the kill." "What do you mean, kill?" I asked. "Financial kill," Jake replied. "Look at this. Robert Chun from Portland lost his restaurant and custody of his kids. David Torres from Seattle went bankrupt and had to get restraining orders. This Morrison guy doesn't just steal wives. He destroys lives." I stared at the photos of broken men who had once been in my exact position. "How do I stop him?" I asked. Jake leaned back in his chair. "You don't stop him, Ricky. You beat him at his own game. But you need to be smart about it. Guys like Morrison have connections. Lawyers, influence. If you go after him wrong, you'll end up like these other poor bastards." I left Jake's office with a clear mission. I wasn't just fighting for my marriage anymore. I was fighting for my business, my son, and my future. Wade Morrison thought he was targeting another weak husband who'd roll over and accept defeat. He was about to learn that some men fight back. That evening, I waited until Scarlett was in the shower before installing the GPS tracker on her car. My hands didn't shake this time. I was past the emotional devastation and into pure tactical mode. While she dried her hair upstairs, I called my lawyer, Patricia Walsh. She handled my business incorporation and had a reputation for being ruthless when necessary. "Patricia, I need to discuss divorce proceedings," I said quietly. "I'm sorry to hear that, Rick. Are we talking amicable or contested?" She asked. "Contested. Potentially very ugly. My wife's having an affair with someone who has a history of destroying marriages for profit." Patricia's tone sharpened. "I'll need to see you tomorrow. In the meantime, don't confront her. Don't move any money and document everything. If this guy has a pattern, we can use that. After hanging up, I opened my laptop and started creating a detailed timeline. Every late night at the office, every unexplained expense, every shift in her mood. The pattern became clearer now that I knew what to look for. My business had grown to be worth nearly $800,000. Our house was paid off, valued at another $450,000. Asher's college fund had $60,000. In Colorado, Scarlett could claim half of everything acquired during our marriage. But there was something she didn't know. Last year, on Patricia's advice for tax purposes, I moved my business into a family trust structure. Scarlett wasn't a beneficiary. She could claim half the value of the business, but she couldn't force me to sell or take control. Wade Morrison had picked the wrong target. He was used to vulnerable men who built traditional businesses. I was a strategist who had spent years helping companies protect their assets from hostile takeovers. My phone buzzed with a text from Scarlett. Working late again. Don't wait up. I checked the GPS tracker app. Her car was at the Marriott downtown. I grabbed my camera and drove to the hotel. Sure enough, Wade's BMW was parked in the garage. I found a corner table in the lobby restaurant with a clear view of the elevators. 2 hours later, they came down together. Scarlett was wearing the red dress I bought her for our anniversary last year. Wade had his hand on her lower back like he owned her. I took photos of everything. Their body language, their easy intimacy, the way Wade handed his car keys to the valet like it was routine. As they drove off, I realized something that should have terrified me, but instead made me smile. I wasn't angry anymore. I was calculating. And when I calculate, I win. Wade Morrison had no idea. He had just declared war on someone who specialized in turning around failing situations. The game was on. Meeting with Patricia Walsh the next morning felt like preparing for war. Her downtown office, all glass and steel, overlooked the city, the kind of place where serious battles were planned and won. Ricky, what you've uncovered about Wade Morrison changes everything, Patricia said, reviewing the background report Jake had compiled. This isn't just adultery. It's systematic financial predation. She spread legal documents across her mahogany conference table. Here's what we're going to do. First, we're moving all your business assets into an irrevocable trust. Your son, Asher, will be the beneficiary, with you as the trustee. Scarlett can't touch what she never had legal access to. Is that legal? I asked. Perfectly legal. The business was yours before the marriage, and the trust structure is for tax and estate planning purposes. It's exactly what I'd recommend for any business owner your age, Patricia replied with a slight smile. The fact that it protects you from Morrison's scheme is just good fortune. Next, she said, pulling out bank transfer forms. We're opening new accounts at a different bank. You'll keep the minimum required in joint accounts to avoid suspicion, but your real assets will be protected. I signed document after document, feeling like I was building a fortress around everything I'd worked for. But it wasn't just about money. It was about ensuring Asher's future remained secure, no matter what Scarlett chose to do. Now for the offensive strategy, Patricia continued. I've contacted the other victims of Morrison's scheme. 2 of them are willing to testify about his pattern of behavior. We're going to file a civil suit against him for conspiracy to commit fraud. Can we do that? I asked. We can try. At minimum, it puts him on the defensive and exposes his methods. More importantly, it sends a message to Scarlett about the kind of man she's really involved with. That afternoon, I picked up Asher from school. My 7-year-old son chattered about his day, completely unaware that his world was about to change. We stopped for ice cream, and I found myself memorizing everything. His laugh, the way he got chocolate on his nose, how he trusted me completely. Dad, why do you look sad? Asher asked, studying my face with those perceptive eyes that reminded me so much of his mother. Just thinking about work stuff, buddy, I said, ruffling his hair. Nothing for you to worry about. But privately, I was thinking about how to protect him from the storm that was coming. Scarlett thought she could walk away with half of everything and start fresh with Wade Morrison. What she didn't realize was that I'd spent my entire career helping people navigate crises. And I'd learned that the key to survival was always being 3 steps ahead of disaster. Morrison might have destroyed other families, but he'd never faced someone who understood business strategy the way I did. Every move I made now was calculated to protect what mattered most, my son's future and my ability to remain his father. The quiet consultant was about to show them both what real power looked like. The parent-teacher conference was supposed to be routine. Scarlett and I had done this same dance every semester since Asher started kindergarten. But nothing felt routine anymore. We sat in those tiny plastic chairs in Mrs. Henderson's classroom, pretending to be a happy family while discussing our son's progress in second grade. Scarlett was on her phone, checking important work messages while Mrs. Henderson talked about Asher's math skills. Actually, could we reschedule this? Scarlett interrupted. I have a work emergency that needs my immediate attention. Mrs. Henderson looked confused. Of course, but these conferences are important for Asher's development. Ricky can handle it, Scarlett said dismissively, already standing. He has more free time than I do these days. The insult stung, but what happened next was worse. As Scarlett headed for the door, she nearly collided with another parent entering the classroom. Scarlett? The woman exclaimed. It was Jennifer Walsh, the mother of Tommy from Asher's class. I didn't know you were here tonight. Just leaving, actually, Scarlett replied, but her voice sounded strained. Jennifer's expression grew uncomfortable. Well, I hope everything works out for you. The whole situation must be so difficult. My blood went cold. What situation? I asked. Jennifer looked between Scarlett and me, clearly realizing she made a mistake. Oh, I just meant, well, everyone's been talking about. Jennifer, I really need to go, Scarlett said sharply. Jennifer, bless her honest heart, continued about you and that man from your office. Someone saw you at Romano's last week, and well, word gets around. I'm sorry, Ricky. I assumed he knew. The classroom fell silent, except for the hum of the fluorescent lights. Mrs. Henderson pretended to busy herself with papers, but I could see her shock. Other parents in the hallway had stopped talking, sensing drama. Scarlett's face went white, then red. Jennifer, you have no idea what you're talking about, she said, trying to regain control. I saw the photos myself, Jennifer replied gently. Sarah Peterson took them when she was having lunch there with her mother. Scarlett, honey, half the school parents have seen them by now. I stood up slowly, feeling every eye in the room on me. The humiliation was complete. Not only was my wife cheating, but apparently, everyone in our son's school knew about it except me. Thank you for letting me know, Jennifer, I said quietly. I appreciate your honesty. Scarlett fled the classroom without another word. I finished the conference with Mrs. Henderson, who kept apologizing for the awkwardness, then walked to my car in a daze. My phone buzzed with a text from Scarlett. We need to talk when you get home. I sat in the school parking lot for 10 minutes, watching other families leave the building. Normal families with normal problems. I thought about Asher inside, playing in the after-school program, unaware that his classmates' parents were discussing his mother's affair. The public humiliation changed something fundamental inside me. This wasn't just about my marriage anymore. It was about my reputation, my son's reputation, and my standing in the community I had called home for 8 years. Wade Morrison had made this personal. He turned my private pain into public entertainment. He was about to learn that some fights don't end quietly. The call from Scarlett's mother came at 7 a.m., 3 days after the school conference disaster. Margaret Walsh had been more of a mother to me than my own, and hearing her voice shake with anger told me everything I needed to know. Ricky, dear, I need to see you, she said. Without Scarlett, can you come over this morning? Margaret lived in the same house where Scarlett had grown up, a modest 2-story in Lakewood with a garden that had seen 40 years of careful tending. When I arrived, Margaret's husband, Frank, was waiting in the living room. His usually jovial face was drawn with hard lines. Sit down, son, Frank said, gesturing to the couch where I'd watched countless football games over the years. We need to talk. Margaret brought coffee, her hands trembling slightly as she set down the cups. Ricky, we know about Wade Morrison. Jennifer Peterson called me yesterday. She thought we should hear from a friend rather than neighborhood gossip. I felt my heart sink. The humiliation was spreading beyond the school parents. We confronted Scarlett last night, Frank continued. Demanded she tell us the truth. What she told us made us sick to our stomachs. Margaret sat down beside her husband, tears already forming in her eyes. She said, You two have been growing apart for years. That you don't understand her career ambitions. That Wade makes her feel alive again. Did she mention his history? I asked. The other marriages he's destroyed? Frank's jaw tightened. We told her about the background check you shared with us. She said you were making it up out of jealousy. Called us naive for believing desperate accusations. The betrayal hit me like a physical blow. Scarlett had turned my own in-laws against me, made them question their judgment for supporting me. But here's the thing, Margaret said, reaching across to take my hand. We've known you for 16 years, Ricky. We've watched you build your business from nothing, seen how you love our grandson, witnessed your character when times were tough. We know who you are. Scarlett is our daughter, Frank added. But she's wrong about this. Whatever's happened between you two, abandoning her family for a man with Wade Morrison's reputation is inexcusable. Margaret pulled out an envelope from her purse. This is a letter we wrote to Scarlett. We're telling her that if she goes through with this divorce, if she tears apart Asher's life for this man, she's not welcome in our home anymore. I stared at the envelope, overwhelmed by their loyalty. Margaret, Frank, I can't ask you to choose sides between your daughter and me. You're not asking, Frank said firmly. We're choosing. Scarlett has forgotten that marriage is about commitment, about fighting for what you've built together. She's acting like a spoiled child who wants a new toy, Frank added. We're also changing our will, Margaret said quietly. Asher's college fund that we've been contributing to, it's going into a trust that only you can access. Scarlett made it clear she's planning a new life in California. She won't need our help anymore. I drove home feeling like I'd gained allies, but lost part of my family forever. The house felt different when I walked in, charged with unspoken tension. Scarlett was in the kitchen, her face red from crying. The letter from her parents crumpled on the counter. Your little investigation has turned my own parents against me, she said without looking up. The truth did that, Scarlett, I replied. Not my investigation. She whirled around, fury blazing in her eyes. The truth? The truth is that you've become a controlling, paranoid husband who can't stand the thought of me being successful without you. The truth is that Wade Morrison is a predator, I said calmly. And you're either his accomplice or his victim. Either way, you're destroying our son's life. Don't you dare bring Asher into this, she snapped. Asher's already in this, I replied. The moment you decided his mother was less important than your affair. The meeting Patricia had arranged took place in a sterile conference room downtown, the kind of place where corporate battles were planned and executed with surgical precision. Across the table sat Jennifer Torres and David Chun, two of Wade Morrison's previous victims, along with their attorney, Sarah Rodriguez. Gentlemen, Patricia began. We're here to discuss a coordinated legal strategy against Wade Morrison and potentially Henderson and Associates for their role in facilitating his predatory behavior. Jennifer Torres spoke first. Her voice was steady, but I could see the pain in her eyes. Morrison destroyed my marriage using the exact same playbook he's using on your wife. Company parties, late meetings, business trips that weren't really business. By the time I realized what was happening, he'd isolated me from everyone who might have warned me. David Chun grimly added, the financial manipulation was sophisticated. He convinced my ex-wife to demand specific assets in our divorce settlement, assets that conveniently made my business unsustainable. Within 6 months, I was bankrupt, and Morrison's company swooped in to buy my client list at auction. What's Morrison's role at Henderson and Associates? Sarah Rodriguez asked. Senior partner, I replied. He handles major corporate accounts and has significant influence over company policy. Patricia slid a document across the table. This is where it gets interesting. We've discovered that Morrison has been using Henderson's resources to research his target's financial situations. Company databases, credit checks, business valuations, all accessed under the guise of potential client development. That's corporate espionage, Sarah said, studying the papers. We can file complaints with the State Bar Association and the Colorado Department of Regulatory Agencies. Jennifer leaned forward. But what about stopping him from destroying another family? Your wife might listen if she understands there's a pattern. My wife thinks we're making it up, I admitted. Morrison's convinced her that we're all jealous ex-husbands trying to sabotage her happiness. Then we show her documentation she can't dismiss, David said. Bank records, court filings, sworn testimonies. Make it impossible for her to claim ignorance. Patricia opened her briefcase and pulled out a thick folder. I've prepared a comprehensive dossier on Morrison's activities. Financial fraud, corporate malfeasance, conspiracy to commit theft by deception. We're filing these charges tomorrow morning. What's the timeline? I asked. Henderson and Associates will receive the complaint by noon, Patricia replied. Morrison will be suspended pending investigation within hours. His access to corporate resources will be terminated immediately. Sarah Rodriguez smiled for the first time since the meeting began. Gentlemen, Wade Morrison has been operating under the assumption that his victims would suffer in silence. He's about to learn that some people fight back. That evening, I picked up Asher from his after-school program and took him for pizza. He chattered about his upcoming school play, completely oblivious to the legal warfare being waged around his family. "Dad, are you and Mom fighting?" he asked suddenly, his small face serious. "Why do you ask, buddy?" I replied, though my heart was breaking. "She's been crying a lot, and you sleep on the couch now," he observed with the brutal honesty of a 7-year-old. I took a deep breath. Sometimes grown-ups have problems they need to work out. But no matter what happens, you'll always have a mom and dad who love you very much. He nodded solemnly, then went back to his pizza. I watched him eat, memorizing this moment of innocence before his world changed forever. Tomorrow, Wade Morrison would learn that he had picked the wrong family to destroy. But tonight, I just wanted to be a dad having dinner with his son, protecting him from the storm that was coming for as long as I could. The call from Henderson and Associates came on a Tuesday morning. Wade Morrison had been terminated immediately, his corporate access revoked, and criminal charges were being filed. My coordinated legal strategy had worked, but I wasn't satisfied with just destroying his career. I needed him to understand what he had cost me. I found Morrison at Murphy's bar downtown, nursing a whiskey at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. He looked older, defeated, nothing like the confident predator who had confronted me at that company party. "Ricky Mills," he said without looking up as I sat down beside him. "Come to gloat?" I asked. "Come to deliver a message," I replied, ordering a club soda. "You told me at that party that I had no idea who I was dealing with," I said. "Remember that?" Morrison laughed bitterly. "Yeah, I remember. Turns out, I was the one who didn't know. You thought you were targeting another weak husband who'd roll over when challenged," I continued. "What you actually did was declare war on someone who builds businesses for a living, someone who knows how to research, plan, and execute strategies." "So, you won," Morrison said, draining his glass. "Congratulations. You destroyed my career, my reputation, my future. Happy now?" "I'm not done," I said quietly. "Jennifer Torres, David Chun, the other families you destroyed, they're filing civil suits. You're going to spend the next decade in court paying for what you did to them." Morrison's face went pale. "That's not possible. The statute of limitations doesn't apply to ongoing criminal enterprises." I finished. "Every family you targeted, every marriage you destroyed, it's all connected. One big conspiracy that's finally being exposed." I stood up, leaving money on the bar. "Wait, Wade, you were right about one thing. Some people are meant for bigger things. But you confused predatory behavior with ambition. Now you get to learn the difference." As I walked away, Morrison called out, "What about Scarlett? What about your marriage?" I stopped at the door. "That's between my wife and me. But thanks to you, she finally knows what real loyalty looks like. My in-laws chose me over their own daughter. My community rallied around me. Even my business is stronger than ever." "And you?" "I learned that I'm stronger than I thought," I replied. "Thanks for the lesson." Outside, Patricia Walsh was waiting by my car with the final divorce papers. Scarlett had signed them that morning, accepting a minimal settlement in exchange for joint custody of Asher. "She asked me to tell you something," Patricia said. "She's sorry for all of it." I nodded, feeling something close to peace for the first time in months. Wade Morrison had tried to destroy my life, but he'd actually shown me who my real allies were. Sometimes, the best revenge is simply refusing to be broken. Bye-bye.